You hear a piece of music, and you don't just hear it, you see it. Bright reds, deep blues. You wonder if you're just being creative, or if your brain's wiring is genuinely crossed. This is a documented neurological condition called synesthesia, where stimulating one sensory pathway involuntarily triggers an experience in a second, separate pathway. But why do some brains blur the lines between senses? Is this a genetic quirk, a glitch in sensory processing, or a leftover pathway from infancy? In this case file, we are examining the neuroscientific data to decode the mixed-up signals and the extraordinary perceptions of the human brain. The first challenge in this investigation is one of definition. We are not talking about metaphor. When a poet writes of a loud color or a sharp taste, they are making a conscious, creative choice. This is an intellectual association. Synesthesia is not intellectual. It is physical. It is automatic, involuntary, and deeply consistent over a lifetime. For a synesthete, the number 7 is yellow. It has always been yellow, and it will always be yellow. The note C# doesn't just sound like a deep purple. It is a deep purple, projected either internally or into the space around them. This phenomenon, long dismissed by science as mere imagination, is now a verifiable subject of neurological study. The perceptions are real. As pioneering researcher Dr. Richard Synesthesia stated in his 1993 work, "The man who tasted shapes, synesthesia is not in the mind's eye. It is a genuine experience of the senses." There are dozens of documented variations. Grapheme color synesthesia, where letters or numbers evoke colors, is one of the most common. But there is also chromesthesia, sound to color, lexical gustatory words to taste, and even mirror touch synesthesia, where observing someone being touched triggers a tactile sensation on the observer's own body. These are not hallucinations. They are not memories. They are a fundamental cross-wiring. The question isn't if this happens. The data is clear. The question is, how? How does the brain's internal switchboard get so radically rerouted? The investigation points to a process that starts before we are even born. We are looking for a blueprint, a neurological schematic. And the evidence suggests this schematic is drawn in our earliest moments of life. The human brain is born into a state of sensory chaos. In an infant, the brain is hyper-connected. The pathways between the senses, sight, sound, touch, are not yet insulated from one another. It's a dense, tangled web of potential. Then, a process called neural pruning begins. To build an efficient, adult brain, the system must specialize. It prunes or cuts away unnecessary, overlapping connections. The auditory cortex is siloed to process sound. The visual cortex is siloed to process light. This is how the vast majority of human brains are organized. But what if the pruning is incomplete? This is the neonatal synesthesia hypothesis, a concept explored by researchers like Dr. Daphne Maurer at McMaster University. According to research published by Dr. Daphne Maurer and her colleagues, it's proposed that all infants may experience a form of synesthesia. In most of us, this unified sensory world fades as the pruning takes over. But in the synesthete, the theory suggests these cross-sensory connections remain. They are not pruned. This crosstalk means that when the auditory cortex fires in response to a sound, a signal also, involuntarily, leaks across this unpruned pathway. It travels to a neighboring region, like V4, the brain's color processing center. The brain isn't imagining the color. It is, quite literally, processing it. The signal is real. This explains the mechanism, but not the cause. Why do some brains retain these connections, while others do not? The investigation moves from neurology to genetics. Data shows synesthesia runs strongly in families. A synesthete is far more likely than the general population to have a relative who also experiences it, though the type of synesthesia might differ. This pointed investigators toward our DNA. A 2018 landmark study provided the first major breakthrough. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, by researchers from the Max Planck Institute for Psycholinguistics, analyzed the DNA of several families with multi-generational grapheme color synesthesia. They did not find one synesthesia gene. The answer was far more complex. They found a network of genetic variants. Variants all related to axonogenesis and neuritogenesis, the very processes that guide how brain cells grow, migrate, and connect. In simple terms, the genetic code of a synesthete provides a different set of instructions for how their brain should be wired from the very beginning. It's not that the pruning process failed. It's that the underlying architecture, the blueprint itself, was fundamentally different. We can see the proof. Neuroscientist Dr. V.S. Ramachandran's work provided the definitive visual evidence. In experiments published in the Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience, Dr. Ramachandran's team used fMRI to scan the brains of synesthetes. When shown simple black and white numbers, the brains of non-synesthetes showed activity only in their number processing region, the fusiform gyrus. But in the synesthetes, two areas lit up, the fusiform gyrus and, simultaneously, area V4, the brain's specialized color processing center. This was the smoking gun, the hard, visual proof. The brain was not imagining the color. It was seeing it. We now have our data, a genetic predisposition for hyperconnectivity, resulting in a brain that retains cross-sensory pathways from infancy. This brings us to our final, critical question. Is this a glitch? Is it a disorder? A mistake in the code? Or is the archive mislabeled? The word glitch implies an error, a system failure. But the data we've reviewed does not point to a failure. It points to a difference. There is no evidence that synesthesia is a pathology. It doesn't impair function. In fact, the investigation shows it may provide a distinct cognitive advantage. We've been viewing this as a crossing of wires, but the evidence suggests it may be a linking of them. Research from Dr. Julia Simner at the University of Edinburgh's Synesthesia and Sensory Integration Lab has demonstrated that synesthetes, particularly those with grapheme color, often possess superior memory recall. Why? Because the synesthetic perception, the color linked to a number, the taste linked to a word, acts as a powerful, built-in mnemonic device. It's an extra layer of information, an automatic encoding strategy that the brain provides for free. It's not just memory. Other studies from the PsycInfo database link synesthesia to enhanced creativity, a greater ability to think in metaphors and make novel connections. The very glitch that links senses also seems to link ideas. So, we return to our central question. Is this a flaw in the code? No. It is a variation. A different, but perfectly functional, and in some ways, extraordinary version of the human operating system. It's not a glitch in the code. It's just a different code. The brain is not a perfect machine, but it is a rational one. We have closed the file on synesthesia, but the archive is still open. There are countless mind glitches left to decode. Comment below with the phenomenon you want us to investigate next. Subscribe and help us build the archive.